In a small town nestled between rolling hills and whispering woods, there lived two cats who were inseparable, Whiskers and Socks. Whiskers was sleek and playful, always darting around like a shadow, while Socks had a plump, round belly and a gentle, laid-back nature. They were the perfect pair, always making the neighborhood children laugh with their antics. Whiskers and Socks had grown up together. They'd chase butterflies, jump into piles of leaves, and sneak into old Mrs. Jenkins' garden to steal her roses. No matter how much trouble they caused, they always found a way to make people smile. Together they made the world seem a little brighter. But Whiskers had a secret. As much as he loved their carefree days, he felt something stirring inside him, a longing to explore beyond the borders of their little town. He dreamed of seeing the vast world beyond the hills. Sometimes he would sit on the old stone wall at dusk, gazing at the distant horizon with his amber eyes full of wonder. Socks, on the other hand, was content. The town was his home, and the familiar faces of the people and animals around him gave him comfort. He didn't need grand adventures. He had everything he needed right here, his warm bed by the fire, Mrs. Jenkins's garden, and most of all, Whiskers. One autumn day, Whiskers couldn't hold back any longer. "Socks," he said softly as they rested under the oak tree, the golden leaves drifting down around them. "I want to go on an adventure. I want to see the world outside of this town." Socks' heart sank. He had always known Whiskers' spirit was wild, but he had hoped their friendship would be enough to keep him here. "But what about me?" Socks asked, his eyes wide with worry. "You'll be fine," Whiskers replied with a soft purr, nuzzling Socks. "This place is your home, but I need to see more. I promise I'll come back, and when I do, we'll laugh and chase the butterflies again." With a heavy heart, Socks watched as Whiskers set off the next morning, a small silhouette against the rising sun. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. Every evening, Socks would sit on the same stone wall where Whiskers used to dream, waiting, hoping to see his friend bounding down the path with tales of adventure. But Whiskers didn't return. The seasons changed, and the once vibrant town grew quiet. Without Whiskers, Socks felt a profound emptiness. The other animals still played, the children still laughed, but everything seemed muted. Socks tried to explore the places they once loved together, but without Whiskers by his side, it wasn't the same. Even Mrs. Jenkins' garden, now filled with blooming roses, held no joy. One chilly winter evening, as the first snow began to fall, Socks sat by the wall, his fur fluffed up against the cold. He missed his friend with every fibre of his being, but deep down, he began to understand something painful. Sometimes, love means letting go, even when it breaks your heart. The town remained as it always had, but Socks was no longer the playful, carefree cat he used to be. He moved slower now, and his eyes had lost their usual sparkle. Yet, he continued to wait by the wall, believing in the promise that Whiskers had made. Whiskers' return. One spring morning, many years later, a familiar figure appeared at the edge of town. Whiskers had returned, his fur matted, and his once bright amber eyes dulled by the harshness of the world he had longed to see. He limped as he made his way back home, but his heart raced with the thought of seeing Socks again. When he reached the wall, there was no sign of his old friend. Whiskers searched the familiar spots, under the oak tree, by Mrs. Jenkins' garden, but Socks was nowhere to be found. His heart ached with regret as he realized how much time had passed and how much he had lost. Finally, Whiskers came upon the town square where the children played, and there, lying peacefully under the sun, was Socks, older, frailer, but with a calmness that suggested he had been waiting. Whiskers approached slowly, tears filling his eyes. "I'm home," he whispered. Socks lifted his head, a small, tired smile crossing his face. "I knew you'd come back." They nuzzled each other softly, the world around them fading away as they reunited after all the lost years. For a moment, everything felt like it used to be. The laughter, the warmth, the friendship. But even in their reunion, there was a deep sadness. Time had taken its toll on both of them, and while they were together again, things could never be the same. As the sun set that evening, casting a golden glow over the town, Whiskers and Socks sat side by side, watching the world around them. The adventures they had shared were unforgettable, but the adventure that mattered most had always been their bond. And though life had changed and their playful days were behind them, their love remained, eternal and unbroken, as they rested together.